just, if you want, of this military-industrial complex, and this observation that in these three domains, the state, economy, and the military, there are sort of the couple of hundred important individuals and families, the Kennedys, etc., who distribute the positions among themselves, who easily transition from the military to politics, right? Think about Eisenhower and backwards into the economy again, who share a common background of Ivy League universities, but who do not necessarily act as sort of a class conscious and elite conscious sort of group as a conspiracy theorist would assume. Yeah. And it was C. Wright Mills who then also is a bit of the founder, together with Karl Mannheim, of elite sociology, and who brings back the notion of power. A second important book of his then is his analysis of the white-collar class or American middle classes, where he describes the organization Man as a book of white-headed, a best-selling book in the 1950s. So basically this new, very much sort of suburban-based and central city working class of middle-class Americans who staff the big corporations, bureaucracies, and in a way are then the tool of the power elite to govern centrally the big corporations, big military, and big government. The second important author then of the time to reanimate conflict theories, it is Albert O. Hirschman, in his book Exit, Voice, and Loyalty, which already in the title describes the different, let's say, reactions that firms, organizations, or states may have in case that problems or conflicts occur. So when there is, for instance, a product fraud on markets, then consumers have the option to simply exit a certain market or product and go to the competitor. So exit then is an important strategy predominant in market behavior. Voice, by contrast, is much more predominant in politics when you have a certain conflict, right? Or then you sort of raise your voice, but often there is no exit option. You have to live in this society. And then it's about political voice raising and protesting that conflicts are responded to and eventually also solved. And so Hirschman sees these two modes of conflict resolutions primarily associated with then markets and politics, but not only, because in markets also, like the consumer movement, for instance, can raise the voice in order to attack sort of fraudulent behavior. And in politics as well, exit is a strategy in certain cases where people vote, for instance, with their feet. A third mode that is often interacted with the two modes of conflict resolution is loyalty, where the more you develop loyalties to a brand, for instance, in a market, or to a certain political group in politics, the more you are also likely to rather use voice instead of exit as a strategy, such that if you're an employee in a firm, for instance, that you have worked for already a couple of decades, then you rather perhaps talk to management, organize a union, or a workers' council in order to solve a firm problem rather than exiting and going to the next company. So very interesting book to read. So reading the recommendation. Hirschman himself is one of those originally German Jewish emigrants to the United States, then hunted also by the CIA, moved then also to Colombia, and yeah, very fruitful, interesting thinker. Last but not least, also a German sociologist who made his career at the LSE, Lord Ralph Dahrendorf, who in the 1960s also reanimated conflict theory with his analysis of society as a conflict between the dominating rulers versus the challengers, those being dominated, and also analyzing conflicts through role theories. So implicitly, what has been present in these system theories is actually a theory of social roles, of differentiated roles in societies, right? If I participate in the educational system, I have the role of an instructor. If I participate in the family system, I have the role of a partner and father. If I participate in the economic system, I have the role of a supermarket client, of a wage laborer, and so on. Yeah? So we have different roles as individuals, and Dahrendorf analyzes conflicts as basically contradicting role expectations that we are confronted with as holders of different and sometimes incommensurable roles. So if I am asked to work more, for instance, as a responsibility going along with my role as an instructor, then this may conflict with the role expectation of being a proper son, for instance, who has enough time to care for older parents, etc. So roles come with certain freedoms to act within sort of the circumscribed domain of roles, but they also come with certain responsibilities, which are enshrined also in the expectations that others have towards these roles. And Dahrendorf then analyzes conflicts as contradictions in these expectations. All right, so we arrived at the end, and let us briefly review here functionalism as a type of sociological theory. So following, if you want, the constructivist sort of epistemology of Husserl, system theory is largely based on constructivist epistemology, where what counts as reality, what counts as truth, is defined by what systems perceive as such. Yeah, so and that knowledge is always generated knowledge within certain systems. We saw also that functionalism, above all, is about functional explanations. We saw that you can defend functional explanations without a grand theory of functionalism. You can also ascribe functions without functional explanations. But yeah, functionalism is also often about functional explanations. And there are different interpretations of what that means. Then methodologically, functionalists are often monists. You've noticed that in the 19th century, this was more of a biological monism, where the organism metaphor organized the monism. In the 20th century, it was the term system or complexity, which sort of created the bridge between the social and the non-social sciences. The one question that probably organizes functional theories is, how is social order created, or in Parsons' terms, how is uncertainty reduced? Luhmann's terms, how is social complexity reduced? And the answer is relatively consensual among functionalists. It's norms. It's shared norms, values, or in Luhmann's terms, also these self-reproducing social systems. Functional theories are clearly meant as value neutral theory, already enshrined in this very cybernetic vocabulary. And we also saw that functional theory often comes along with an ontology of its own, be it systems in Parsons, be it sort of the ontology of difference in Luhmann. Last but not least, and I will elaborate more on this, anthropologically, following the German phenomenological tradition, many of these functional theories start with individuals being, or human beings being, sort of incomplete natural beings in need of social institutions to stabilize their life. But yeah, we will learn about more about this in the lecture on phenomenology. We leave it here. Have a great day.